Hello and welcome to court. Today we wanted to talk a little bit about what our life is like as historical fashion / Sewist YouTubers. I know that a lot of people are kind of wondering where to get started, especially if you work full-time or if you have kids. So we're going to provide some tips and tricks that work for our family. It may not work for every family, but it does work for our family. What are your biggest challenges with sewing with a child?
I think my biggest challenge is the fact that the best time to sew is when the baby is asleep. He really likes to help, likes to help us with the projects, and helping involves him running over the fabric, moving pattern pieces,
wanting to touch everything,
just being a part of everything. So
basically, when you are not working, and the time that you would get to relax when he's sleeping, you are sewing.
Basically, yes. That's the best and really only time to get significant work done.
You spoke a little bit about having a schedule and having deadlines for yourself, but how do you break down each and every costume so that it is more manageable? Can you go into detail a bit?
Yeah, so for example, if there is an outfit that has 3 pieces. You've got a pair of pants, a vest, and a jacket. I separate those projects and give myself checkpoints of each one so that rather than being overwhelmed by a massive project, there are 3 pieces of one bigger project. It works with dresses too. I have the bodice, the skirt, and then the undergarments. Or if there's multiple underlayers, each one is broken up so that there is smaller projects within the bigger project.
So basically what you're saying is that when there is a look where all 3 of us are featured, even though we may have released something completely different the week before, you were working on something for those last 2 weeks.
Yes, trying to get through massive projects like that take time. And like I said before, if the only time I have to sew is when the baby is sleeping, I need to start projects way in advance. I've been working on projects for months before we ever actually release the videos.
Or release any pictures to go along with the projects.
Or promos or anything.
Mm-hmm. With the nature of creating video content, you usually have to create content for the video, even while you're doing projects. So what are some shortcuts that you use to finish projects on time?
So there are times where I will film the mock-up stage and not the actual finished project that I end up wearing in the video, because I want a good shot that doesn't necessarily have to be as accurate as the one that I'm actually wearing, or the baby's wearing, or you're wearing. So one kind of shortcut I take is to film that separately from the actual garment that I'm making.
Got it. So basically there's a little movie magic happening.
Just a little bit.
This is a 2-part question. Are there ever situations where you have to parent and sew, and how do you manage that?
There's definitely times where you have to parent and sew. Being a parent is a full-time job. There are times where the baby doesn't want to go to bed, or I have stayed up late working on projects and he decides he wants to wake up super early. So there's just a little bit of finagling you have to do to make sure that his needs are being fulfilled as well as the projects are getting done, and you're making sure that you're hitting those deadlines that you've set up for yourself.
I guess we should also talk a little bit about our home life. You work full-time and I'm the full-time stay-at-home parent. I mean, everyone is a parent full-time, but I stay home full-time and parent. And so a lot of people may wonder, well, why would Dionysus ever have to be in a situation where he has to parent and sew? Well, we do want for the baby to see him during the day. So
just occasionally,
just a little
sometimes.
bit, maybe. So he usually does breakfast with the baby, and then after dinner while I'm cooking, or maybe just taking a breather for myself, showering, whatever the case is, he will be with the baby, which is often why, because he likes to spend that time with the baby, he doesn't sew until the baby is asleep. So they get that time together.
There are times, though, where the project has to get done. So if I can do little hand sewing, or the other day the baby was helping me pin a project together, he would pick out the colored pin, say what color it is, and hand it to me one by one so that I could watch him with the sharp objects. But little things like that where the project has to be done, so we turn it into a game that's safe, or, you know, he just
can play in the area. If you're hand sewing, he can play in the area with his stuff. Usually in those situations, I'm editing. So I'm not just lounging around, or I'm creating scripts, or I am doing something for Instagram. So maybe you should ask me some questions about my process.
Yeah. So I know I talked a little bit about my movie magic and my filming process. What is your filming process like?
Whew. Okay, so it really depends on the type of video that we are making. So there's a big difference between something that is for me versus something that's for you versus something that's for the baby, and then something that's for all of us. A lot of times you help come up with the vision for your own videos. I will obviously come up with the vision of mine, and then I usually come up with the vision that I want for family videos or videos of the baby. What I usually try to do is I try to storyboard, which if you don't know what storyboarding is, you might have heard the term around like animation, especially with Disney. It's basically either drawing out or writing out each and every shot that you want to get done so that you make sure your story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I will often tell you the looks that I am looking for you to shoot when you are actually doing the sewing portion. And then when we are on location or in the house or wherever the case is, I will have a breakdown of which shots we need to get, including B-roll, which is basically like stuff that comes after your main shot. So instead of filming like you pinning something, I might want a shot of the pin cushion and you pulling out a pin, right? So I make sure we get all of those shots, which is basically a giant checklist. But that runs into the territory of we can't make the baby do anything. No. Like, he's a toddler. I have an idea of what's going in my head, but his videos are very, 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 very loosely storyboarded.
Bare bones exoskeleton of what we're trying to achieve. Sometimes it works out great. Sometimes he does his own thing.
Sometimes it'll be something as simple as baby runs, because I know he'll do that. Or baby stands still, so that might be us singing and he's like rocking or whatever. Or it might be baby buy flowers. We find flowers, we have a baby, we put the baby by the flowers. I wish it was more complex than that with like his filming setup, but it is not really. No. Which kind of leads to how it is with family setup. We kind of have to go off of his cues. So a lot of the things that you'll see when we are filming as a family, or just the two of us in a video, so if you ever see like me and Dionysus or myself and the baby, we're totally running off of his cues, and pretty much the only thing I can control is the location.
Once you have the full storyboard and we've gotten all the shots, how long does it typically take you to finish editing a video? I'm
a really fast editor. I would say the most time it's ever taken me to edit a video is probably 2 days, and that's not 2 full days. It was probably 6 hours total. Because I put like such a very detailed shot list or storyboard list, editing is pretty much a breeze. I like to film every single thing in order, so it is just a matter of plugging things in. If we want to include audio in there, I would still say the most time that it's ever taken me is probably 6 hours.
You said that it takes you about 6 hours to edit. What are the videos that take longer to edit versus the ones that are the quickest for you?
The quickest would have to be any videos where we are just sitting and talking to the camera. I like to call them talking head videos because that's pretty natural to us. We both do well with improv, and even if it is a video that is factual and it's not one of our silly videos, I will kind of do things out, like script out like a speech, so I'll have my facts within there, but it will just be bullet points, and I can kind of fill in everything around that. Those videos take like an hour tops. The things that take longer are things where there needs to be very specific points hit. So the Black Tudor series typically takes a little bit longer just because I'm trying to tell the story of everything that happened in this person's life, or at least this fragment of this person's life that we know the information on. And then anything with special effects takes a long time. And it's not even a matter of not knowing how to do the effect. You could slow a clip down and it moves everything over just 1 second, and then you have to go and move everything 1 second. That was a big thing for the WandaVision video. If you have not watched that video, please go watch it because it took me so long. But even the Cicely Tyson video, I have some footage mixed in from the 70s. I had to learn how to render that footage to make it work in the video and make it full size for the video. So that was very, very difficult. And the video is only like, what, 3 to 5 minutes long? It's not even a long video, but just taking that time to be very precise took a while.
I'm at work most of the day, and you're at home with the baby, so you have a lot more opportunity to run all of the social media because I can't be on my phone at work. How does that work for you?
There's a lot of planning that takes place to make sure that things can get done. My baby comes first before social media, so if I have an idea, it might have to wait until the baby is down for a nap, or maybe he's eating or something like that, where I can take a couple minutes to film something or say something or post something. So that is a little bit of a challenge. But honestly, I would have to say the biggest challenge is I might have a great idea or a great point that I want to touch on, but I'm not in the position where I can even text myself the idea. If we are in the middle of playing tea, for example, the baby is very serious.
Loves tea party.
Very serious about his tea. But there are typically like situations where he does not want me on my phone. So he is like, no, we're doing tea, which is fine. But I'll be like, hopefully I remember that idea. And if I don't, maybe it'll come back to me. It's gone forever. That is definitely one of the more challenging things, but I can always come up with a new idea. I'm not going to get back time with my child.
You talked about social media. What is most important when running the social media?
Ooh, there are a lot of things. I am a very big fan of controlling the narrative in your comments, and that means a lot of different things for a lot of different people. If you've ever looked at celebrity social media comments, it could be anything from deleting absolutely everything that is negative to only responding like once in a blue moon, to responding and being really sarcastic with everybody, positive or negative. I don't like to put people in a situation where they can leave a negative comment or where they think that a negative comment is going to stand on my page. And I'm not talking about criticism like, the audio was bad, I couldn't hear you, or the lighting was bad, I couldn't see what was happening. I mean like bigoted or racist comments, because I've gotten those. That's what I mean when I say negative. I don't let people believe that they could get away with that. So I think that's really important, because your comment section of anything, of Instagram, of YouTube, of like Twitch, of anything, is your audience, and that's how your audience gets a feel of who you are. And I want my audience to feel empowered when they watch our stuff. Which means that in order to feel empowered, you have to be able to see that I just don't let bullies say whatever they want. Not in this court.
But I think that you touched on this is the fact that there's a very clear difference between this is offensive, or this is racist, or this is bigoted, versus you didn't like the video, this wasn't your cup of tea, this isn't what you like.
I actually like getting comments like that, and I'm saying even though this is our Instagram or our Instagram channel,
our social media,
our YouTube. Social media accounts, because I'm the one who does almost all of the social media. But I like getting those comments because, I mean, I get an inside view into what people want to see from us or what we need to improve upon. People spend thousands of dollars to pay focus groups on this sort of stuff. And it's a compliment to me when someone says, I love your content. I really wish I could hear you, or I love your content. I really wish this was a thing. It shows me exactly what people are looking for. And if you go back on some of our older videos, because they were rough, you might see some of those comments where I'm like, thanks. It is bad, and I am still trying to learn. But those are compliments to me, because I know I personally would not give advice to someone that I didn't want to see do well. So I think for me, the most important thing about social media is making your audience feel comfortable and empowered to be on your page.
We know that you run the social media. We know that you hang out with the baby all day. What does a typical day, your typical day as a stay-at-home parent, look like?
So typically when you wake up with the baby and get the baby ready and get breakfast and all that jazz, I like to catch up on really simple social media things. So I'll respond to comments. I might go through and like people's things, leave comments places, reshare stories, stuff like that. And then we drop you off at work, and then we come back and then it's baby time. So the baby gets cuddles or playtime. Sometimes we have lazy days where we have a projector, so we'll put up our projector screen and just watch PBS Kids for hours. Like it all depends on where the day is going with the baby. Sometimes we go out for a hike, but regardless, around midday he typically goes down for a nap, and that's where I have some options. I can edit, I can sew if there's something that I need to sew, or I can do social media. And it really just depends on what the need is of the day. Sometimes I will sew and do social media. So if you ever see posts like stories where I'm sewing, that is because I need it to do more than one thing. Then I get the baby up, we will eat, and then we go and get you, and then you take over. And now I have two options again, or three options rather. I can sew, I can do social media, or I can do like other little things that need to get done. I can do like editing or recording sometimes if it's something small that needs to get done. Sometimes I need to cook, so
kind of important. Just a little.
This family likes to eat like literally every day.
Every day. It's
haven't
incredible.
Figured it out yet. I think you guys are kind of on an off schedule, but I think the baby's gonna grow out of it. And then after that, the baby goes down for bed. We always do bedtime together with the baby. And after he goes to bed, it is either film, edit, or sew once again. For example, right now we are filming this while the baby is asleep. And you will probably have to sew after this, and I will probably have to edit. But I feel like it keeps a really structured setting for the day. I will sometimes do things while the baby is awake, but I don't really like to film anything major when the baby is awake because his safety is my top priority. So I don't want to pull out lights and have something fall on him or have him trip over a cord or anything like that. So if I film anything, it'd be on the phone. But yeah, that's a typical day for someone who is, for me at least, who is doing YouTube and also trying to parent?
So I know that there are also times where there's a pressing matter, something that we want and need to speak about. How do you deal with that while being the stay-at-home parent? And kind of a two-part question, if the baby's having an off day where he does not want to let you put him down, he wants to be attached at the hip all day, how does that change the schedule that we've laid out?
So those are really two big different things, but it really, the approach does change. I was going to say the approach doesn't really change, but no, it really does change. If he is having a day where he wants to be a cuddle bug and he just wants to cuddle up to me, but there is a pressing matter that I need to speak about, I will typically post a text story to the Instagram just so that it is addressed. I might do some infographic slides for our Instagram feed, but something where I can do it with my hands and I don't have to have him on camera, especially if he's not having a great day. I don't want him to like look back on that and be like, thanks for filming that. And it's like, you're welcome. But if there's a pressing matter and he's having a pretty chill day, I can usually give him like something to play with that will occupy him for like 5 minutes so I can do like face-to-face talking on an Instagram story or maybe make a TikTok or whatever. But I'll usually just like do it in his bedroom and close the door because it's baby proof.
Or you'll do that in the morning when I have the baby.
That is true. If it is really something that is time sensitive, I will be like, I just need 5 minutes. You're already watching him. I always try to apologize because like there are times where you'll hear him in the background, but I'm not gonna shut up my child because I need to film something like.
So basically being a full-time parent is a full-time job. Stay-at-home parenting is a full-time job? What? So what do your off days look like?
Off days. I usually just clock out with the baby and I'm like, I'm taking my PTO and we go back and forth and I end up having to take it to HR. And HR always sides with him, so I don't get to use my PTO. No, my off days with the baby typically look like me just being like, you are home, Dionysus, take the baby. And he takes the baby, but it's not an off day. Like if grocery shopping still needs to get done, it gets done. If vacuuming needs to happen, it happens. If we need to do laundry, that happens. So I try not to vary his schedule too much. He'll still do nap time at the same time, still do meals at the same time, but it might just vary for who he's with during the day. So basically all of the enrichment sort of stuff, all of the play might be done by Dionysus, which I don't feel too bad about. I mean, you work 40 plus hours a week. So this is like one of the few times that Dionysus gets to be with the baby. And y'all might not know this, but he is literally the baby loves him. Like he's the #1 fan. He's always like, I need to be with daddy. So I feel like the baby does not feel like he's missing out on much either. He's like, I've been waiting all week for this. I want to throw that question right back at you. What do your days off from your day job look like?
I mean, you touched on it a little bit. I typically take the bubble, the baby, and spend time with him and kind of get to do that. But there's still stuff that needs to be done. So if he can help me do the chores around the house, he
does like to help. He's very helpful. Not always helpful at completing the task, but he likes to be part of it.
He's part of it. He definitely likes to help. And if it's a sewing project that I need to get done, I wait until his nap time and do it during his nap. I try to make sure that we are having a fun day so that he is worn out, so that he actually sleeps through his nap and actually goes to bed at the time he's supposed to go to bed. But again, there are days that are off days, and
I mean, there are some days where that plan just doesn't work, and like some days he does want me, and so, but also you.
I want Muse, but also Dionysus. I want mommy, but also daddy.
Right.
There are also days where we decide to just kind of put all of our chores and tasks that we need to do to the side and
go roller skating.
Or go to the park, or
go on a hike, go for a picnic.
Just leave the house.
Just get out of the house. So I think that we should answer this one together. How do filming days work as far as a breakdown? I'm actually going to start like a day or two before. If we want the baby's hair done, I have already done that. So that is already out of the way. We don't have to worry about delaying the day or not getting out of the house when the lighting is bad, because his hair is already done.
Yes. Day of, jumping ahead, I am typically in charge of making sure that all of the bags are packed and everything is ready to go. So if we are filming in the house, it's pretty easy. I'm in charge of setting up the equipment, making sure that everything's ready to go, making sure that everybody's dressed in what they need to be dressed in. If we're going to a location to film, I'm making sure that any props that we need, I have packed. We have our camera equipment. We typically don't bring lighting equipment, but there has been times where we've needed to bring a light.
Or reflector.
Or a reflector, or a shade, or just something of that nature. So we've definitely had those times where we just need a lot of stuff. For our picnic that we did out in the park,
we brought our coffee table.
Had to make sure that we had a coffee table, the pillows that we were sitting on, the picnic basket,
the silver,
everything. We needed all of the items. So that is typically my task, as well as getting the baby ready to leave the house. So
the reason why that is specifically Dionysus's task is because most of the time when we are filming outside of the house, we are in tutor garb, and ladder lacing takes a long time. And it is literally just way more simple for Dionysus to get the baby dressed and himself dressed when I might have to ladder lace a kirtle, or I might be putting on several petticoats because it's cold outside, or I need to literally bobby pin pearls into my hair.
Not only that, but your makeup. You have a makeup look, and if I'm wearing any makeup, it's very, very minimal just to...
The baby is in full face, though.
Yes. Mascara, blush, the whole 9 yards.
Contoured, everything. A lot of times when we do film, we have to stop at the store before we film. And it might be something as simple as the stuff for our picnic. I just wanted that to be fresh, thought we would get it day of, very simple things, no biggie. But we are out in garb, which means that people want to talk to us, which we don't have a problem with. No. It just is another step that we have to do.
Especially when we're trying to film at a certain time with lighting that we're focusing on. People will stop and talk to us, so it's having a meaningful conversation with them, letting them know kind of what we do, why we're dressed up, but getting to the point so that we're not missing our window of opportunity for the location that we need to film at.
Definitely. Once we've gotten all the shots that we need, we like to get a thumbnail. Sometimes we'll get it at the beginning, but usually we like to tire the baby out if we need a thumbnail of him so that he'll sit still. And sometimes that does not happen. If you plan on filming with a child or filming your child, lower those expectations, like really lower them. Sometimes I do just really nice screen grabs of him, like a footage of him. And sometimes we get photos, but I don't count on getting photos. And sometimes if the outfit is simple enough, I will just get photos the next day because he likes to play dress up in his outfit, so it makes it easy.
It's truly a case of prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. Obviously, we would love to show up on location, take a lovely,
I mean, I would love a crew. Let's start there. I would like someone doing the camera.
Next year we'll have a crew, definitely.
That'll be in the budget. No, but I mean, I always just assume that the baby is going to have a bad day because going out and filming is not his normal routine. Like we're not doing this every day. So changing up a toddler's routine can be for better or worse. And if you set the bar low, you are pleasantly surprised with anything that rises above it.
On days where we are filming with the whole family, how do we get those shots with all three of us?
Yeah, so we will do a tripod and really just hope that everyone around us is nice and doesn't run off with our camera. Literally. We'll set up a tripod. I will make sure that it has proper framing so it represents whatever we're trying to give the feel of at the time. Sometimes I purposefully let like things slip. So for our 1,000 subscribers video where we did our 21 questions for CoSy, I didn't care that there were cars in the background because it was a Tudor picnic, but we were answering very modern questions, so it was fine. Also, I'm human, so sometimes, recently, I've been human. So sometimes things slip and it doesn't really bother me. But I try to make sure that the framing is correct. And then we are just kind of at the mercy of those around us because we film in public places, so we can't block anything off. We haven't rented the space or anything like that. As far as us filming all of us in our home, I will make sure that it is set up in a very specific spot. It's kind of hard to get our living room just because the window lets in a lot of light and we have a lot of modern things in our living room because it is a living room and we live in 2021. We just got to 2021.
Recently.
So I don't always want to show those things, but I'll just try to make sure that we stay in the one specific area, which is sometimes hard with a baby that likes to wiggle and worm, but I think he's sort of starting to get the idea that like I can follow directions a little bit, which is nice.
Well, I know that we also tried to do things that the baby will enjoy.
Yes.
To help get all three of us in the shot. So there will be times where the baby's playing with a flower and we will walk in the shot to join him, or we will
or he wants to run around and we'll chase him.
We'll do 1, 2, 3s where we swing him back and forth and things like that he enjoys so that we get a family shot of all three of us, but we're not really having to move mountains to make that happen. How do you film a video in a week? I understand 100%.
Should I cut it? With a lack of sleep. We are performers by nature. We met while performing, and we have very, very long resumes of performing. So doing YouTube was just really an extension of performing for us. Like, obviously we both sew, so there's that. But it was really just an extension of performing, especially at the beginning of COVID, with theater shutting down, with theme parks shutting down, with tours shutting down. This was just an extension of that.
We needed a creative outlet. We were looking for something to allow us to perform and allow us to be the creative people that we are without not being safe. We wanted to keep safety in mind, and so this was a way for us to do that.
So personally, I see making a video a week as creating a show every single week, where I get to come up with the narrative. I mean, you come up with the narrative sometimes,
yeah.
But like we get to come up with our own narrative for this show. We get to make the points that we want to make. And then at the end, we have a show. And I really, really like that because a lot of times as a performer, you just don't get that freedom to do that. And even if you are like a director or a writer or something like that, you still might not get the freedom because you have to do what the producer says, or you have to do what this investor says.
Going off of that thought of it being like a show, it's very much during the week before you're rehearsing, and that's your prepping, your sewing, your editing, all of that,
filming,
to then have the show, and then after the show you get the reviews of the show while you're rehearsing for the next show that you're in.
It's very sitcom-y. Very, very sitcom-esque, or at least that's the feeling it gives me. So I would have to say it's sheer determination. And then speaking for myself personally, I'm an extremely ambitious person. So like if I put my mind to something, it's going to happen. So we prepped to open our YouTube channel for 2 or 3 months.
I think it was 2 months.
2 months.
2 entire months.
Before we started making videos. And that was just because I didn't want to attach my name to something that I didn't believe in wholeheartedly. And then we had a lot of ideas that we wanted to do for our channel. We wanted to speak on Black topics, which if you go back and watch our very first video, you'll see a little sneak peek of that. We wanted to talk about gender identity. We wanted to talk about being parents. We wanted to talk about different advertising throughout different eras. So having all of those things combined, you really have to find a way to make it all make sense on the channel. I think we've done a pretty good job at that.
I think so. I think that we both run into an issue where we are both very much perfectionists in different things. I'm very much a perfectionist in the way that I sew versus you are very much a perfectionist in how you edit and how you want us presented.
Seen, yeah.
Yes. And so those are things that kind of inhibit us, but also push us forward, where we kind of have to plan for those things. So those things take time, and time takes away sleep to get those things done. But the ambition and sheer determination helps us push through, and that's how we end up being able to perform and make
do a video
every week.
That doesn't mean that it's not hard. It is very hard. It is very challenging. It's very frustrating sometimes. But I mean, we were looking back at some of our videos that we had previously done as we went through footage for CoSy, for Costume Symposium, if this is the first video you're watching. And it was really like watching home videos because we got to see our family grow. There's one video where the baby is using a pacifier and he hasn't used that in months. So we were just like, oh, he was a little baby. But it's really rewarding to go back and be able to look at those things and be able to remember exactly what was going on that day. Like, I was really sick. We have one video where I was so sick. I had been to the hospital the day before.
Your wrist was in
a cast.
In a cast.
And I could look back at that video and be like, wow, how did we make it through that day? But I'm glad that I have that memory to look back on because it is perseverance for me.
Yeah, but I really want to belabor the point that it's not a cakewalk. It's not easy all the time. There are things and there are parts of it that are easy, and like coming up with ideas. I don't think any part of YouTube comes naturally to anyone. So like there are sections that will come naturally. You can be a fantastic sewist and know nothing about audio. You can have beautiful shots and really know how to storyboard and really know how to convey that point through images and not know how to script. So it's a job that when you think about it for movies, you would have many people doing, and oftentimes it may be a 1-2 person team. And I mean, we're lucky to have 2 people. There are most YouTubers, especially starting out, it's just 1 person. Yeah, but there are parts that will come easy, and there are parts that are very difficult, and there are times where things get very frustrating and tensions can run high, and it can make you feel like you want to take a step back and quit and just throw in the towel. And what I've noticed, and I don't know if you agree or not, but the more that you push through, the more reward that you see, and the more, you know, love and support you see from our courtiers, from your subscribers, from your followers. And that's really what fuels, I believe, all YouTubers, is having, even if it's just that one person that was like, hey, I really loved what you did in this video, or I really loved that thing that you wanted to say in this video. That's really what pushes people forward and makes us commit to staying up really, really late and waking up really, really early and being the perfectionist that we are to make it for you.
As a complete shift, what has been your greatest tool as a Sewist YouTuber?
I genuinely think it's time management. Having a somewhat strict schedule of, this is my project deadline, this is when I have to have this done by, has allowed me to self-manage what I can realistically get done in a day, what I can realistically get done in a week. Adding extra time for days that I'm just really tired because I'm working full time. So having just a schedule that I've created to stick to has been my greatest tool of making sure that we are hitting deadlines. And when hopefully we are sponsored by someone, we'll be able to maintain those deadlines and make sure that we are reaching all of the things that we want to reach. How about you? What is your tool? What has been your greatest tool?
So we decided to do YouTube before we moved, which meant that we were able to have that serious discussion of, do you want to make your house YouTube friendly? And we decided, yeah, if we're going to do this, we're going to go
all in, all the way.
And that has been extremely, extremely helpful. Almost everything in our house. I know you've probably seen a lot of antique furniture, a lot of antique dishes and silver and stuff. All of that is thrifted. All of it is thrifted. A lot of it's from Goodwill. The antique furniture is from like Habitat for Humanity. When we moved here, we literally had clothes and our car. That was it. We had clothes for the and we had your sewing machine.
Yes.
And that was it.
That was
all. So we didn't have a lot of money to spend on any of this. I think we furnished and decorated our entire living room with like $425. And that's like a couch, a chair, the shelves, the all of that.
The decorations, the
paintings and all that stuff. But having that in place means that if all else fails, I never have to struggle to find a location. If you are super tired, it's not like, hey, I know you worked 9 hours today. Let's get in the car. We gotta go film. And we have to go to the store beforehand. Like, I can always just be like, we'll set up in front of our wall of pictures and we can make a video, versus like really having to struggle. And that's the same for our bedroom. We've set up our bedroom. Our whole house is filming friendly, and that has been the best tool, I think, at least for my side, the filming side, that we've had.
Yeah. We've come a very long way since the beginning. But if you could change one thing about our channel, what would that be?
Like if we were to start over?
If you were to start completely over from scratch, what would be the one thing that you would want to change about our channel?
We filmed a lot of pretty short videos at the beginning just because we have continued to see a lot of growth, and we wanted to make sure that we were putting out things for new subscribers and thanking our new subscribers, our new courtiers for joining us. And I wish that if we were to start over, I would just do that with a weekly video rather than to do smaller videos in between. I don't think that they were bad. Just looking back on it, and even as a viewer, I would rather see longer, meaningful content than to see a shorter thing that's like, yay, I'm glad for you, but like, when's the next like big video going to be out? I want to throw that question right back at you. If we were to start over, what is one thing that you would change on our channel? I
think that I would start with the way that we do sewing videos now rather than doing the tutorials. I think when we initially started the channel, we had this idea that if you are a historical costumer, you make these historical garments and you show people the entire process of how you make these garments. And so going into it, that's what we were doing. And it was a lot. It's a lot of filming, and it's a lot of
hand-holding, especially because most people who do historical costuming or historical sewing of any kind at least have some sewing techniques down.
And have already gotten past the, okay, I know how to do a French seam. I know how
or
to
even just, I can't have a raw edge showing.
I know that I need to finish this part. I know that this is the inside of the garment and this is the outside of the garment. So people want to see sewing, but don't necessarily need to know exactly how you put something together. And if they do have a specific question about that, a lot of times there's already a video out there that talks about exactly how to do that particular part that you're looking for. So I think if we were to completely start over, I would do what we are currently doing with our sewing videos and have a more meaningful conversation about what we want to speak on, what topics we feel strongly about, and not focus so much on, then you're going to attach the sleeve.
Do you think that do you have that feeling because you feel like this is what our courtiers would like, or do you have that feeling just in general?
It's a little bit of both. I've noticed that our courtiers like the sewing content, but don't necessarily want to see all the steps of something and won't stay for the whole video because they're like, I mean, this is very pretty, but I want to see the finished product. I want to see the big reveal, which, I mean, I don't blame you. We want to see the end product as well. But there's also so much sewing content on YouTube already that it belabors a point to be doing the same things over and over and over again. And after you've had a couple sewing videos, the followers that you do have know that you know how to sew. The only time I really talk about specific things that I've changed to a pattern or specific details of a pattern are when it's something I've changed or something I've altered or something unique.
We'll often do that if we are going for a historical look, because we do historically inspired, not historically accurate. If we're going for a historical look and we are cheating to get that look and using more theater techniques, where it's like, here's how you can get that look that was pictured without having to go through all of the traditional steps or even the quote unquote proper steps to get to that. Thank you for watching. This is our very first video of CoStube Symposium. We are going to be releasing 4 videos, this is one of 4, during the event. CoStube Symposium is a free online convention that is happening on YouTube and on Instagram. So if you like historical costuming, whether that is behind the scenes, like what we talked about, or whether it is talking about altering children's garments so that they can be both wearable and give you that historical accurate feel. Or if you want to see a variety of panels, I'm hosting a panel with some Black historical costumers, or you want to learn how to model your garb, which I also talk about, You should definitely check out this event. There is a panel for disabled folks. There is a mental health panel. There is so many different like little sew-along things that you can do to keep yourself busy.
There's also a lot that talks about YouTube and how YouTube works and how it works specifically for someone looking to get into sewing or looking to get into historical costuming. So there's just tons and tons and tons and tons of content coming out these next couple days. So definitely keep an eye out.
A lot of the videos, including all of our videos, will have this really cool thing called badges. You need to collect all of them, but, and I am speaking for myself, the Muse and Dionysus badges. I mean, you've got to get them.
They're great.
They're amazing. Including this video. Once you have finished watching this video, check the description box below so that you can get your badge. And don't forget to do that on all of our other videos as well. Always check that description box because you'll find a link in order to get the badge that you're looking for.
This is our kickoff to CoSy, so if this is your first time here, welcome. And if you're a returning courtier, hi again! We're so glad you came back. This is just our start to CoSy, but there's so much more for you to see, so we'll let you have at it. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.